Hey everyone, welcome back to Poplar Preparedness. We are on location here next to this gorgeous lake in Maine, and I got a special treat for you that you know him as North Maine Guy in the comment section, but I know him as Dean, and he has just a tremendous amount of experience with medical, and he got his start as an Army helicopter medic, so seen a lot and been trained highly on how to keep people alive. And then also you spent you're a registered EMT.
Correct.
You spent 3 years in the ER.
Correct.
And if that wasn't enough, you also train people in wilderness first aid.
Correct.
As an instructor. So I hope you guys listen and pick up some great pearls. I like to start off with something that I think a lot of people are really afraid of when it comes to the wilderness, and that is snake bites. What would you say about how we should treat a snake bite here in the United States?
Well, we have a couple do's and a couple don'ts, and okay. I'll start with the don'ts. Frequently people hear about how you should cut a snake bite or put ice on it and, you know, extract the venom or with a suction cup or whatever, and none of those are right. In Australia, they have a large population of poisonous snakes. They did a study a couple years back on how to treat viper snake bites, pit viper snake bites, and essentially what you do is, first of all, if somebody has a snake bite, has been bitten by a snake, you want to keep them quiet and at rest so that they don't get their heart pumping and move the venom around through the body. And what we'll do with a bite is take a 6-inch ace bandage, and we start at the bite site, which is here, and we'll take the ace bandage and we'll start to wrap around the arm, keeping it fairly tight, and you're going to wrap it all the way up to the top, and then you're going to keep wrapping, and as you wrap, you're going to go all the way back down and then seal it off here. And you should be able to get your finger under it and have it just be, you know, just comfortable enough. And you need to check the fingers, make sure they're not blue under the fingernails, which would indicate an interruption in the circulation. And you can also check the radial pulse, which is right here, to make sure that that's pumping away. And essentially, that is the treatment for a poisonous snake bite.
But isn't someone going to drop dead right there? Don't they just have 1 or 2 hours to live?
Well, there's a couple snakes. In Southeast Asia, they have one, I think it was called a 2-step. And if it bit you, you'd drop dead in 2 steps. I mean, there are some highly toxic snakes out there, but we don't have them here. The worst thing we have here are the copperheads and the water moccasins and so forth. But no, there's actually in the United States every year, there's only a handful of deaths from snake bites, maybe 5 a year. So unless you're elderly or sick with pre-existing conditions or very young, you have a pretty good chance of surviving a venomous snake bite.
So the most important thing is to stay calm and to get some compression on the arm, like what you just saw on
Correct.
The video.
And what I want to say about that too is that a lot of times people confuse the purpose of the bandage with its real purpose, and most people think that when you do that you're actually constricting the blood flow, but that's not what the purpose of it is. What you're doing is constricting the lymphatic flow. You're trying to slow down the entry of the toxin or venom into the lymphatic system, and that's what the purpose of the wrapping is.
Either get time to get the antivenom or give your body time to process the venom itself.
Right. In high bite areas, and we're really talking about when things crumble, but in high snake areas, a lot of the EMS services actually carry antivenom on the ambulance. Because they know what the types in the area are. But we're talking about if you get caught flat-footed out here fishing, trying to put food on the table for the night, you know, and a snake bites you.
All right. Let's say I have a dislocated shoulder. Pop that out, and I'm not going to be able to help out at the farm anymore because my shoulder's out of sorts. What will we do about that?
Well, actually, you've probably heard all these stories about setting a shoulder and how dramatic it is, and you hear popping and so forth. But there's a method out there that I learned about 8 years ago, and it's called the Cunningham method, and it's actually a very passive method. And all we do is we take the person who has a dislocated arm, we'll extend the arm, and then you have the patient put their arm up on your shoulder, and you're going to get this kind of effect, which is your traction to the arm as you do the next thing, which is go to the very top of the shoulder, just at the nape of the neck, and you're going to start to massage the muscles. And what you want to do is try to get the person to relax as much as they can. Tell them to close their eyes, pleasant thoughts, think about the beach. I'm not being funny. You just try to get them in another place. And what that's going to help do is relax these muscles, because this whole bundle up here, the rotator cuff, is what's pulling on it. So what we're doing here is relaxing the muscles and then putting gentle traction, and you won't even feel it slip in. It'll just go in, no pain, and you'll be able to tell that it was successful because the person will be able to do this, place their arm across their chest. And anybody can do it. It's a very simple procedure, non-invasive, takes a couple minutes to learn, works great, and it could help you out in a survival situation where you need to be up and running and getting things done, because once the shoulder's in, you pretty much go right back to what you were doing.
Okay, great. And similar along those lines, let's say that instead of dislocated, my arm is actually broken. So
Correct.
I got a break up here. We don't want to leave it just like that, right?
No. In the old days, we used to just splint it. They call it splinting in place, and we would literally not move it. We'd find the best thing we could do to just keep everything from not moving. However, in a long-term situation, one of the things that is a potential danger with a fractured bone is shock, obviously, because there's a lot of pain involved. So your goal in a survival situation is to get the person out of pain as best you can, make them comfortable so that they don't go into shock and so forth. And what we do is called traction in line. TIL is the term for it. So essentially, just for your viewers, we have two types of fractures, open and closed, simple or compound, they're both the same. Let's say we have a closed fracture here, and it's just poking out. This is the bone poking out. So all we want to do is straighten it out. Now, I would probably have this person lay down or something where I could work on them, but simply all you're doing is taking the arm, like so, and pulling it straight, and that bone's going to go in line. What I would do at this point is just wrap it to his body so that it's immobilized, or give him an arm sling or something. The other thing is, if it's a compound fracture, or what we call an open fracture, you're going to have bones sticking out. And you're still going to do the traction in line, but what you need to do is get your normal saline, your irrigation saline, and best you can clean off that bone so nothing gets drawn in with it. And it's the same deal. You just pull it straight, traction in line, straighten it out. And what I tell people before I do it, I say, you're in a lot of pain right now, but if you just bear with me for 1 second, I'm going to make it much better. I'm going to make it go away. Because once you do the TIL, the traction in line, the pain is going to subside rapidly.
Great. Great tips there. Now, let's just talk real briefly about burns. When you're cooking, especially in a wilderness situation, or if you're going to have to be doing a lot more wood fire cooking at home, that's going to be some stuff that you're not super used to, and you may get some burns. What are the types of burns that someone could get?
Well, they fall into three categories. There's first-degree burn, second-degree burn, and third-degree burn. First-degree burn would be your sunburn. You go to the beach, you come back, red as a beet. That would be a first-degree burn. Second-degree burn involves some destruction of the derma, the underlying skin layer. It also involves blistering as well as redness, and that's still treatable in a survival situation. The next one would be third-degree burns, which essentially is all the way to the bone. They won't be in any pain because there's no nerve receptors left unless they have lesser burns elsewhere. But the big thing with burns, two things: dehydration and infection. An infected burn can happen very quickly, and they're very hard to control. So you want to do anything you can to mitigate those two things. With a simple burn, and this is very important. If you've ever, I'm sure you've had a barbecue where you've had pork on the grill and it gets sizzling, and you take it off the grill and put it on the plate. If you put it up to your ear, you hear the fat sizzling. That's what your skin's doing when you have a burn, whether it's a first, second, third degree burn. When you burn it, that tissue is actually cooking like that. So the goal with the burn, the number one goal, is to get it cooled off as quickly as you can. Irrigate it with cold water, put ice on it, anything you can to make that cold, anything you can to draw the heat off, and that'll stop the burn from getting worse. Because it may not look like it's doing anything, but it is. It's cooking you. And ironically, but it's not something you just do for 2 minutes. They recommend you do it for anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes to cool the wound down. That'll minimize infection, minimize scarring, minimize pain. So that's the real key. After that, depending on the type of burn, usually it's a keep it dry, covered. If you don't put, in the old days they said put butter on it, put cooking grease on it, put this on it. You don't put anything oil based on a burn, nothing. Anything with petroleum in it stays off the burn. It's actually a pretty straightforward process. Sterile dressings and sterile water for severe burns. Like second degree burns, they might have some blistering. You want to keep that covered. If you can get your hands on something like Silvadine, which is a prescription burn paste, they use it in the ER quite frequently. If you have a good relationship with your doctor and you're worried about this, they'll write you a script for it so you can have it on hand. It's a pretty innocuous drug. But you don't want to put anything. You can put Novocaine, like the topical Novocaine I have. That's okay to go on the burn. I would say you're okay with pretty much anything made for that purpose, or that's not petroleum based can go on there. But anything like Vaseline, cooking oil, I don't know where that came from, but that seems to be what people think the proper treatment is. But again, with burns, the two things you want to be aware of, not so much a first degree burn, that's kind of like, you scalded yourself, it hurts for a couple days and it's over. But if you have somewhat serious burns, you want to be on the lookout for infection, number one. And, that's normally, and dehydration.
Sure.
So.
All right, folks, that is end of part 1. Once part 2 is up, there will be a link right here. You can click on there. Until then, this will just be another video that YouTube thinks that you might want to check out. But once we drop part 2, you're going to want to check it out for some more first aid, simple medical advice. God bless you all. Steve Poplar and Dean out.